And we're back with more exciting adventures of the Incredible Hoax. I am Chris,
I am Mark.
and we're going to try and do this differently. That you can't see the microphone. We're trying to do this where we can do a podcast. This might be Incredible Hoax episode, whatever it is, 438,000 or whatever, but it
Yes.
very well could be podcast one
Could
of
be.
of the Incredible Hoax.
And if for you folks watching the video, we kind of have a tilt version, some tilt action going on.
We do, don't we? Do I fuck with it on camera? Do I care? No, I don't really care. Does that make it any better? I think it's actually exactly the same as what I just started with.
Yeah, it's just you just see more of us.
All right. I'll leave it alone. I could fix it in post if you can kind of like zoom in and you tilt it.
I could just like do this and really make it fun.
Well, what I was gonna say is you can fix
I'm
that
leaning,
in post.
folks, for you listening.
If you turn, you can take it and you zoom in and then you turn your footage. So if you ever have a camera that's a little out of tilt, you can fix that. But now you said it, I gotta leave it because now there would be no funny thing because like now I have to leave it tilted because you said, hey, it's tilted, so I couldn't like fix it. Then it'd be like, well, no, it looks fine. So now, fuck it, this episode's tilted. So,
Hey, folks, we have a topic though, believe it or not.
all right, so Solo. We haven't addressed the movie that is Solo, a Star Wars story.
Yes, yes, and I think we're about a minute away from going into spoiler alert
Yeah,
territory.
Let's just do that at the outset. It's been out like 2 or 3 weeks, so we're spoilers. If you haven't seen it, you want to be spoiler free, then just shut it off right now.
Yes.
And your thoughts.
Okay. Solo. If for folks that have seen Rogue One, I thought it was similar in that the first hour kind of flawed, kind of slow. Second hour really so much better, and so I thought it shared that with Rogue One. Frankly, I think the second hour redeems the movie as a whole. I mean, if it didn't improve off the first hour, I was more inclined to give it a thumbs down. I give it a thumbs up. It's kind of an unenthusiastic thumbs up, but I give it 3 stars. The movie's kind of darker than what people are used to for Star Wars. It's almost like they kind of did it. I was worried about them DCing the Star Wars franchise. I think I guessed right on that one because it does feel like we're going into DC kind of territory. So that bothers me. But that said, the movie is good enough, and the resonance there at the end when you have a character who basically, for her reasons, decided to basically stay with the villainous crime syndicate. And leave Han leave him alone, leave him. I mean, that was kind of a dark choice, kind of a brave choice.
Right.
So it's not a happy ending per se, but it's a good movie.
So you give us. So if you had to like put it into a star category, you and I have always loved the 4-star system.
Yeah.
Give me a star ranking in this to kind of get a feel for where you're at with it.
Well, 3 stars.
Did you say that? Oh,
yeah,
you said that? Okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed that part.
I give it 3 stars.
3
yeah.
stars. Okay.
It's unenthusiastic though, but it's there. It's good enough.
Well, we have always said 2.5 down means you don't like it.
Right.
3 up, you do. We've always kind of gone with that. Kind of
Sure.
the Siskel and Ebert.
Yeah, we're very influenced by
Siskel and Ebert.
We love those
2.5
guys.
and down, that was a thumbs down.
Yeah.
3 up was a thumbs up.
Yeah, we've always done the 4-star rating system.
So I liked it more than you, but that doesn't mean I don't agree with everything you. It's like one of those things like, and I don't know if I'm being overly forgiving or what. So like, I loved everything when they get with Lando in the ship. That Ford, I'm all on board.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because Lando was so good. I mean, he was good, but he wasn't like exceptional. It's just at that point the movie finally picked up the pace, and the parsecs, the Kessel Run scene,
Right.
all that kind of stuff was just I thought that was great. I mean, when Chewie finally hops in the co-pilot seat,
Oh yeah.
it was like, it. One of the things I hate about a lot of these origin quote unquote stories is they never allow them to be that. Like my biggest beef with the fucking Star Trek reboot is, could they just be a unit?
Right.
They keep like, well, they're growing as a team. Well, I don't want to see them grow as a team. I want them to be a team.
Yeah.
If another goddamn Star Trek movie comes out and they're still trying to learn each other and this other stupid shit, I'm out.
Yeah.
I want to see. That was the beauty of the original Star Trek. They were a fucking team and they did shit.
Right.
And I felt like as soon as Chewie hopped in the co-pilot seat, it was Han and Chewie. They were pushing buttons and this and that. It was like they knew their place and they were like, go.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel as like a becoming movie at that point. It was more of a, he's Han.
Yeah.
Han's arrived. And that's how it felt to me. And that's what I loved about it. And I saw it twice. And because I liked it the first time, and I watched it the second time, I really liked it. I think it's one of those movies that's going to grow on me more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
It's a little uneven. It's a lot uneven. It feels like director. Yeah. It feels like a director got fired. It has that feel that a director got fired.
It does.
The Darth Maul stuff is a little clunky. I'm with you. Her motivations could have been a little clearer to why she's going to go stay with the Maul. Is she trying to is she feel like, I could use a little more insight. Is she like beholden to them? Is he a father figure? Is it a cult-like thing? Is it, hey, I want to get in there and destroy it all from within? I mean, I don't know where she's coming from.
Yeah.
Another negative is it's a dark movie, but it's a dark movie.
Mm-hmm.
And like I remember there was at one time, what was it? Guillermo del Toro, or what's is that his name? The guy that made Hellboy. And
oh yeah.
He wanted to make a Jabba the Hutt movie and make it like The Godfather. And I wonder if his notes and influences spilled over into this movie, because the movie's dark. I mean, it's like dark.
Oh yeah.
When I saw it the first time, I thought it was dark. I thought, well, in IMAX, maybe it was that theater. Like, no, it's like a dark movie. It's like really brown.
Oh yeah.
And I know the Red Letter Media guys, that was one of their big. I saw their review, and I was like, and I had to agree with them. I think they're too picky on a lot of movies, but I had to agree with them. Like, it's too dark. Like, the movie looks too dark.
Yeah, that's absolutely
which
true.
is really weird. So I don't know what that was about. I mean, even if they're going for a Godfather mimic, it was, I don't know if it was the best choice in terms of visual style. But I thought the one thing we haven't mentioned is, and I thought the one thing that everybody would be upset about, it's like, it's kind of like when Ben Affleck was Batman. It's like, well, when Ben Affleck was Batman, everybody's like, oh shit, I don't want Ben Affleck as Batman. Then you see Superman versus Batman, and you're like, well, he's the best thing in the movie.
Yeah.
And everybody was kind of on Aiden, and like, no, he's like the best thing in the fucking movie. I mean, he's great. Like, he's the new Han Solo for me. I'm good with it. I'm good with it. I'm all aboard for he's the Han Solo now.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that.
Well, you said a lot there. To unwrap, I'll start with the casting of
I was just realizing, I was like,
Ehrenreich.
How far did I get off camera?
I didn't notice that until
I was
now.
just like, yeah.
For you folks listening, he was leaning off the frame.
Well, the whole thing is leaning. We're on the Titanic. It's sinking.
Aiden Ehrenreich as Solo. I thought he did okay. He didn't wow me, but part of it was you had a movie that was being shot at dark as hell. You're looking for an action adventure that's going to be in tone like Indiana Jones. Mm-hmm. You know, like Last Crusade or something. You know, because that's really where the tone needed to be. It's a Star Wars movie. And they really thought, well, we want to be it's a spin-off movie. Can we experiment? Can we be a little darker? It's like, well, you can. You're just not going to be.
Which is the best choice.
It's not the best choice. I mean, it's because if you go too dark, you're really getting away from what the feel and tone of Star Wars. So I wouldn't want a movie to go darker than what Solo did for Star Wars.
Well,
they kind of pushed it to the edge, and that's fine. I mean, like I said, it's a good enough movie. I think Ehrenreich did fine. There is that moment where he jumps in the Millennium Falcon pilot chair for the first time, and I have to tell you, a wave of nostalgia just came crashing over me for the first time in 2 years, probably since Force Awakens, and it just came over me this big wave of nostalgia. So he did good, and then of course when Chewie joined him, I was just like, that was the moment where the movie really took off.
Right.
And from that moment, it's a really engaging adventure to the end. Has the resonance because you have a character in is it Kiri? The Amelia Clark.
Query?
It was Kiri, I
There's a
believe.
Q in there somewhere.
I know it's pronounced Kiri.
All right, go.
Anyway, that character Amelia Clark played the love interest, if you will.
Sure.
Her, I think a lot of what they're trying to do there is kind of have a character who has had to make such compromises that and in a way it's like I've had to soil myself just to survive, and I've gone to this point so low that she can't so
low.
Yeah, that she can't see herself being with such a good guy again. You know, it's almost like I'm not worthy to be with you. You're a good guy, she tells him. You're a really good guy, knowing the compromises she's made. So it's almost like that's why in a way it's a little bit there's such a resonance, but in a troubling way with her character in the end, for her to decide to stay with the crime syndicate. Then of course we see the Sith is involved and Darth Maul, and we're like, oh, okay, that adds an extra layer. The fear component too, because it's like, well, part of her like, well, maybe we could escape. It's like, no, they can sense me and find me possibly. That might have been on her mind. At any rate, it's edgy stuff. It's darker stuff. It's stuff that DC franchise has been playing with the last, as you know, a dozen years or so, with some success, but mostly disappointment. Star Wars here, they get away with it just by a hair.
Yeah. I want to see more of the... I want to see more. I know it's underperforming at the box office. Its global take is $300 million, which, you know, at this point, you know, I'm thinking their expectation for global take at this point would be closer to, you know, getting, you know, well above 700 million to a billion. They thought it would do the Avengers type business, and it's a whole other show about why it's not doing that. But watching the movie, it's just not the type of movie that makes that kind of money. It's just, other than being Star Wars, it's just not the kind of movie that makes $1 billion.
No,
really.
Well, I'm a fan of the Riddick movies. Those Riddick movies are dark, and they're kind of like Solo.
Yeah.
Solo, the film, is a lot closer to the Riddick trilogy than it is the actual, you know, Star Wars trilogy. Any of them. In its tone and all that. And I like the Riddick trilogy, but it didn't. I mean,
I never saw the third one.
Their box office was not on the same level as Star Wars by any shape or form. So I think your point is valid. That kind of story is, because of its dark, complex nature, is not going to yield itself to that kind of box office.
Yeah, I mean, it's not particularly teenager friendly and little kid friendly. No. Jude watched it, but I mean, he's a diehard Star Wars fan at this point. So, I mean, I don't know if a kid. I mean, if I'm a little kid and I've seen it, it wouldn't make me buy the toys. You know what I mean?
Well, and it reminded me,
of that movie.
To me, it did remind me of when I went and saw Batman Begins. Batman Begins, because I had that experience, it took me like 2 years to warm up to that movie, and I eventually got there where I liked it. But when the first like year and a half after seeing it, I just was like, oh, it's so dark, and this, that, and it was like we want less complication from our superhero movies, you know, that kind of a thing. And This movie I benefited actually because I'd already had that experience and I knew kind of what was going on. I was like, this feels like Batman Begins.
Yeah.
So, and you could tell within the first 10 minutes, by the way, you can tell early in this movie that this film is going to be dark, and that's what it is. And once you kind of like accept it and just let it be what it is, I think most people will come around, and it's a good enough adventure.
I think. Well, you and I haven't really talked about that much because we purposely were trying to avoid talking about it before we did a show.
Yeah.
But I've told others that I've talked about it. The Batman Begins things I completely agree with. What I had told some people was like, man, I think it's not going to do that well at the box office. It'll probably break the 200 million barrier, and that's about it for domestic.
Right.
And which nothing to sneeze at, for the love of God. But the expectations for Star Wars are way bigger than that.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those movies when it gets to Netflix, when it gets to Blu-ray, when it gets to Redbox, when it gets to Stars, HBO, whatever, it'll pick up a new audience. It made me think of Big Trouble in Little China in a way. I mean, it's not as fun and goofy as Big Trouble in Little China. It's not near as culty as Big Trouble in Little China.
Right.
But it reminded me of that type of movie where like when people watch this at home, they're gonna like it. And when it plays on HBO, they're going to watch it. And they're going to watch it the second time it comes on. Mm-hmm. And they'll be randomly doing something on a Saturday and it'll play during the day. And they'll stop and watch it.
Yeah.
It will... Time, I think, will be very generous to it.
Well, another John Carpenter movie that was like dark but got accepted later was The Thing. Mm-hmm. And so you would hope Solo would kind of go that way. It's like darker than what people were expecting. But over time, people will... just like The Thing, appreciate it for what it is, and then its stock will, I think, rise in time. I don't know that Solo, the movie, will ever be considered a great movie. I can't even see myself going there. But I think a lot of people who maybe didn't care for it, I think, will eventually come around and say that it's a pretty good movie. And I just think it's kind of there are flaws there, so I can't see it becoming some kind of classic, but I do see that more people liking it.
It'll hold its own. I think time will be generous to it. And if anybody's watching, which they probably will be, but if anyone from Disney, yes, I want to see more. I mean, if they don't make a Solo 2, they're going to make, I know they've announced they're making Boba Fett next. So, put Aiden's, have the storyline connect to that one, make it, I think Disney will come back to it. I think they will make they might not make a Solo 2, but I think they're going to make their own little universe of
connecting
these
kind of
gangster
stories.
Underworld bounty hunter movies.
Yeah,
I think they will.
Yeah, the Clone Wars, the series, had a whole season where it kind of followed kind of these bounty hunters in great detail. I think that was season 3. But at any rate, that was a good thing that series did, was following someone besides a Jedi all the time. I know that can be, that's cool to a point, but you mix it up a little bit, and they had some success with that. So maybe the movies needs a little break.
Closing, yeah. Well, I think Lucas did Star Wars 3-year gaps in between, which I think was genius on his part.
Yeah. Because
he, resting the brand, I think it was a phrase I've heard somebody use. He allowed the brand to rest and anticipation to rebuild.
Yeah.
When you deliver a Star Wars movie every year, it's kind of like, even the faithful, even like me, even I wasn't that excited to see Solo. I was kind of like, in fact, the night it came out, I was really busy with a video project, and I had to if I hadn't already bought tickets, and committed, I would have waited a day.
Mm-hmm. Well, you don't want your franchise to become the McDonald's McRib. Remember the McRib? They used to do this thing where like, okay, it's out, and then like once a year for like 1 month out of the year, then they take it away and they bring it back and take it away. Then they made the genius move I say that sarcastically, of like, no, we'll add it to permanent to the menu. Well, when it was permanent, people were eating it like, this is not very good. Well, it was the once a year, it was the brilliance, not the adding it to the menu.
You know what the urban legend is? And I say it's urban legend. It might be real.
Because people had 11 months to think, oh, that was really good, but it wasn't.
Well, I don't know if it's urban legend or if it's real, but the urban legend is that the reason why the McRib only came out ever so often is because they would stockpile all the shit leftovers, byproducts, making the fake McNuggets, making the fake burgers, and they would take those remnants of meat and make our McRib.
Mm-hmm.
So they would stockpile these remnants and then make McRib. So McRib was basically a shit sandwich. It was all the leftover remnant parts from the fake McNuggets and the fake hamburgers.
Yeah, it was like processed.
I don't know if that's true, but that's the urban legend. All right, to wrap up the show, I have one subject I want to bring up. I haven't even told you about. And it's solo based. It's Emilia Clarke.
Yes,
I adore her. I adore her.
Okay.
But she didn't look that hot in this movie compared to Game of Thrones. In Game of Thrones, it makes you hurt. She's so hot. Like literally, you're hurting.
Yeah.
She's so hot. And this one, I was kind of like, well, how did they make Emilia Clarke look so just plain?
Yeah.
Like there's nothing. She didn't ooze any like. I know I'm being completely chauvinistic and all this kind of stuff right now, but like. I didn't. I mean, not at all. Like she was just. Like,
I can't point fingers because we've actually done an Incredible Hoax where I mentioned about her before, and that I was fascinated because we were talking about I think the Terminator Genesis movie.
Yeah.
And I was saying, what is it when she puts on that blonde wig and she's just like hot? Like because I was noticing in other movies she didn't look. She never looked as hot.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure that out.
I don't know what it is.
And I thought,
hair color.
Is it the wig or is she intentionally trying to like play down her sexy image? I think she's like, I want to be treated like a serious actress, kind of a thing. I wonder.
Well, I think she's serious as fine. I mean, just
it's like, honey, I think you can act. Yes.
I know I'm a superficial chauvinist scumbag, but like. She wasn't that hot in the movie, and like I didn't need her to be. I mean, I enjoyed the movie otherwise, and she's acted really well. I mean, I liked her. I like her character. I got her action figure.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's
very cool.
But I mean, like, it just like I don't know whether there's a disconnect. Game of Thrones. Oh my God! Like your body is aching because she's so hot.
Yeah.
And then Solo.
Well, I would just say
ordinary.
Amen. I've commented on this before, so I would just agree with what you said. It didn't go unnoticed that yet again she's in another movie or project that's not Game of Thrones, and she's intentionally trying to look more dour and less hot for some reason.
And speaking of things that are less hot, how'd you?